It's been 4 years since the last mainline film in the Conjuring universe, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. What I saw as a misstep for a franchise left me wondering that once we get another installment, could they truly correct the course and give us something effective and scary before we lose out on our two leads, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga? Well, folks, I am pleased to let you know that The Conjuring Last Rites is an excellent return to form for this franchise, offering scares that, while not on the same level of the original two Conjuring films, will make you feel right at home with them. Tonight in movie reviews, we are talking The Conjuring Last Rites. Stay tuned. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. Like I mentioned, tonight we are talking The Conjuring Last Rites. Don't forget, though, to hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, no matter where you are catching this review at here, folks. We got a lot of great content up on the channel right now, including my interview with Keith Coogan and another look at a Tales from the Crypt episode, Only Skin Deep. And we got a lot of fun stuff coming up that I'm going to tell you about here at the end of the show. But let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right on into things here. If you have not seen the trailer for The Conjuring Last Rites yet, this focuses again on Ed and Lorraine Warren, attempting to enjoy their retirement as the impending nuptials of their daughter Judy approaches. But all three will be called into action when the Smurl family of Pennsylvania finds their home besieged by three different spirits. Judy and Lorraine will also find even more mutual ground with each other as Lorraine seeks to show Judy how to make use of her terrifying gifts. And there it is, folks. That is The Conjuring Last Rites. Now, here's the deal. This is supposed to be the last film in the mainstream Conjuring universe franchise. We're talking about the films that are explicitly titled The Conjuring, not any of the spin-offs like Annabelle or The Nun or The Curse of La Llorona. This is just going to be based around the Warrens. This is not the end of the franchise just in general, though. So I want to put those fears to rest just in case you guys are hearing misinformation. The Conjuring is not ending here with Last Rites. It's the end of their first phase of this franchise. And it seems fairly clear when you get through Last Rites what the intention is to move forward with leading these Conjuring films. So we'll get around to that here in a moment. The film starts off by actually taking us on a flashback and showing us Ed and Lorraine's first case that happened to coincide with the birth of their daughter Judy. And I was not prepared for this to be as emotional of a sequence as it ultimately ended up being. You know, the Conjuring films have done a great job about showing us family and showing us about how you need these connections to fight the evil that's in your life. They do a great job selling that plot point for sure here, but I would never say that these films have ever particularly had me welling up or feeling like super heartfelt about relationships, and Last Rites for sure accomplishes that. I think part of that is because we've also grown up alongside Judy as well in these films, whether it's the mainline ones or the spin-offs. We've seen Judy grow older and her involvement with her parents' cases, and we've feared for her. We've been proud of her when she's been brave and taken on these spirits herself as well too. It's been cool to take this ride with her, and so getting to go back and to see her birth and just to see how scared and worried the Ed and Lorraine were when they're dealing with this just hit me in a place that I wasn't really expecting this franchise to. So kudos here for giving us something to actually shed a few tears on. I'm curious after you guys see it whether you're ultimately feeling the same way, because it's not the only scene in this film that's going to make you tear up as well too. But I'm glad that we're getting something different so many years later, that in our in our fourth entry here in this franchise, they're still finding ways to connect to us emotionally that we hadn't thought of before. Fantastic. Again, Ed and Lorraine, they have been enjoying retirement. You know, we're years on from what we've seen in those previous films. They're not really going around and helping out families or anything anymore. And the movie takes great effort to make sure that they are separated. And from what we've seen, we know that these are not just a walk in the park when they're dealing with demonic possession and spirits inhabiting people and homes and objects and things. These are things that really offer a real sense of danger to them. And Last Rites doesn't let you forget that this is the end of what we're watching for Ed and Lorraine, but we still have to move things along here. A lot of you might be wondering, well, does that mean they're just going to recast the Warrens? Are we going to do a lot more prequels to where we get to see more cases in their younger years and we don't need to worry about bringing Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga back? But that's not it at all. The film works almost like a backdoor pilot of sorts. It does a great job of balancing the attention and the focus that we put on Ed and Lorraine, but it also does a really, really good job by giving us attention and focus on Judy and her fiance as well too. Like very, very clearly, Judy and Lorraine share the exact same gifts, and we've been seeing over the course of these films that Lorraine's really been in the mode of protection as opposed to showing Judy how to harness these powers and make use of them. Realistically, because she's trying to keep her safe, but it also comes from this viewpoint, this standpoint that maybe Judy can't handle it the same way that she does, which obviously has continued to put Judy in danger over and over and over. Even if you go back and watch a number of these other films, Lorraine not sharing what she knows about her gifts with her has very much put Judy in danger, just as much as she would be if she knew about this. So it's better to have her equipped with that, and I like that the movie keeps building us up to it. Last Rites does an excellent job of setting up that drive for why Judy should be interested in this in the first place. And honestly, I was very, very surprised to see such great characterization for somebody who's been a child for the grand majority of this franchise. It just felt like we were really seeing her next evolution. Does it expertly here with this. Now, in terms of the scares that we're getting here in The Conjuring Last Rites, they don't reach the level that we had in those first two Conjuring films. But let me make sure that you understand that's not a bad thing. Remember again, those first two Conjuring films are considered to be some of the best horror films that have ever been produced. They are not in my top 10, but they are certainly in my top 100, maybe even in my top 50 of horror films of all time. I know a lot of you probably do have them in your top 10. And that's because, in addition to a number of other things, the scares in those two films are memorable, they're effective, whether it's a jump scare, whether it's the atmosphere, everything works in those films so well. And that's why The Devil Made Me Do It ended up being such a letdown, because we didn't get that. We weren't getting the same scares that we were used to. There wasn't a spooky atmosphere like we were kind of expecting. If anything, that film felt more in line with The Exorcism of Emily Rose, to where it's more drama and more courtroom shenanigans or more legal shenanigans than it is we're getting a mixture of what we've come to know and love about the Conjuring series. And so Last Rites very much corrects that wrong by giving us almost an overabundance of paranormal activity happening throughout the film, like from the grand opening up into the same ending that we've come to know and love for these Conjuring films, where they're showing the actual live photos and everything with the creepy songs in the background. Last Rites just continually hits you over and over and over with an endless amount of scares. Now, in some ways, that's a bit of a detriment to it. And that's why this doesn't end up being a bit of a perfect film, because it does almost feel like Michael Chavez was like looking at it and said, you know what? We were lacking in a number of our most recent films, so we need to just crank this up to 11 to make sure we're giving everybody a little bit more to make up for what we left out. And it does feel just a bit too packed, to where some of these scares are just a bit too close to each other. They encroach on each other, so you don't get enough of a chance to reset, to take that deep breath before another one comes around. And you would think that would just keep you in this scared state, but not so much when it's just happening back to back to back to back to back. Some of these scares need a little bit longer to really settle in here, and we're not given the time that we need for everyone that's presented on screen, giving us something similar to what we liked about the scares in those first two films, but it doesn't stick the landing perfectly. Unfortunately, there's still a bit of work here that can be done. I will say though that director Michael Chavez, who's really been the head of this franchise, as this will now be the fourth Conjuring universe film that he's done, between Curse of La Llorona, Conjuring 3, The Nun 2 and now this. It does, or maybe the Nun 2 and the Conjuring 3 were swapped around. Either way, it does seem that the quality of these films continue to get better and better and better. I would not be surprised if Michael Chavez ends up being involved in more of a creative role here behind the scenes as the franchise keeps moving forward, because it does seem that that original team, James Wan, it does seem like that original team was very much involved in the first half of this franchise, and it seems like switching it over to Michael Chavez might be the right way to go here with this. This is a great addition to the ongoing Conjuring franchise, but it also does show here that we likely need to do a reset on a lot of the spin-offs that we're going with this as well too. I do not think that this franchise can really endure another Annabelle or another Nun film, no matter how good or how bad they ultimately are. I think both of those concepts have been wrung completely dry, and especially now that Ed and Lorraine are no longer really going to be involved really in big ways in this franchise, I think it's time to start developing spin-offs for Judy and the evils that she's going to end up encountering. I think that the next film does need to be another Conjuring film, not another spin-off in that case, so that we can get Judy and her husband getting their feet on the ground and start taking cases on. And I think that that first film, we need to have some nods to other evils that the two of them are going to be facing in the franchise as it keeps going on here, and then let those develop into their own set of spin-off films as well. There's been talk about going back to things like the Crookedy Man, and the fact they even took the Curse of La Llorona out of the franchise itself kind of shows you that all these spin-offs that they've been thinking about at one time or another might just not have been home runs, and that means leave it all in the past at this point. Truly make this the cut. Keep what we love about The Conjuring, but let's start getting new ideas lifted in here. Again, this is what you want from a Conjuring film. It brings back a lot of the staples and trademarks that you're used to, but again, it also ends up introducing emotion, some heavy, heavy emotion here into the franchise, and it also does a really, really good job of getting us endeared to the characters who are likely taking this franchise moving forward for years to come. The Conjuring Last Rites ultimately gets a 4 out of 5. It is really, really well done, and it is leagues better than The Devil Made Me Do It, but it is not perfect, and that's okay, because when you're shooting to be two of the best horror films of all time, like we get in those first two films, that's some pretty high ground to have to cover in this case, and you're not always going to hit that. So, something for this franchise to aspire to as it keeps on moving forward. After you guys go and check that one out this week, and let me know in the comment section what you're thinking here of this one. And of course, get subscribed to my link tree, as it's the best way to check out all the horror content I got up for y'all right now. You can do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio-only versions of the show, my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, my TikTok page for short horror content including movie news, movie premieres, and movie reviews, my Twitch page for horror gaming, and my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Take advantage of that, y'all. Hit that subscribe button. Again, I got a lot of great stuff coming up, including looks at Fright Night, Alien Earth, Dexter Resurrection, Street Trash, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A lot of fun stuff coming up I do not want y'all to miss out on at all. But that is going to do it for me here tonight, y'all. I appreciate you tuning in for this review. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.